2024, you want to buy your first property. How are we going to fund it? Let's jump straight in. So first of all, do you have the money or don't you? If you don't have money, and when I say money, I'm going to say 40 grand plus, then don't look into the passive income routes. Most people get into property thinking about the passive income, which is amazing. As you know, I love my boring vanilla buy-to-let properties and building that portfolio. But if you've got sub 40k, like 39, 38, fair play. But I'm talking if you got 10, 20 grand, I'm going to shortcut this for you. Do deal packaging. However, what I actually mean is do an active skill. Active skills, active money is your fast money. Passive skills, passive money is your slow money. So if you're going to do that in property, do deal packaging. There you go, done. And if you want to learn other strategies, subscribe. Follow the channel, loads more on that. Now let's assume you've got the money to invest, you've got 40k or more to invest. It's then thinking about your knowledge level. Now the fact that you're watching this particular video shows me that you're probably at the beginning of your journey. And by the way, I started with fuck all money, no knowledge whatsoever, and very little common sense. Well, that's what happens when you buy your first property at 19. However, I started with the basics, learned how to raise the money, which I'm going to go through, and then I've built a £10 million plus portfolio. So the reason I'm saying that is if you're watching this and you don't have a fucking clue where to start, well, you're in the right place. The reason I'm saying that is you're going to go and explore things. You're going to hear about all these strategies where it's HMOs, service accommodation, rent to rents, commercial conversions, land developments, and so much more. The reality is, if you are genuinely serious about thinking about the long-term fundamentals, a long-term investment, and actually creating wealth, then there is only one strategy, and that is boring, vanilla buy-to-let properties. Just a little snippet. I'm not slagging off the rest, but they take time, they take knowledge, they have complications within them, and you need to start with the foundations before you build your skyscraper. Let's get back. The next thing we need to think about is your cash available. So when I'm talking about available, I mean readily available in the next 4 to 8 weeks. The reason I say that is some of you have a house that you own and you want to refinance and pull money out, and you want to use that for a buy-to-let. That's fine. That's readily available, I would say. Let's say there's enough equity. That's probably going to be about 2 to 3 months ready available, but you still want to start the process now. It could be you've got stocks and shares, it could be you've got an ISA, it could be you've got some gold, some silver you want to sell, or some savings. If you don't have that cash position in the first place, as I said, you need to go back to the active income. Now, if you do have that money readily available, you then need to be thinking about, is it going to be cash, mortgage, or bridging? And I'm going to go through each of how you have your strategy and attack plan of building your portfolio. So let's go through each and why you might want to use them. So first of all, mortgage. Mortgages are going to be the most common way that you're building your portfolio. Now, a lot of people go, what's the point getting a mortgage? By the time you've ended up buying 2 properties instead of 1 because of the leverage, you're paying back the mortgage, you end up making similar money, but now you've got more risk because you've got 2 properties. Yes and no. You have to understand the fundamentals of how you actually make money in property. A lot of people think it's, I'm going to quit my job through passive income. It's like, yeah, you probably won't, because by the time you've got a big enough portfolio, you've got the entrepreneurial spirit, your exit is death. You are never going to fucking quit your job, I promise you. And I don't mean your current job, I mean the job that you're in. Think about, I've got more money than I know what to do with now. I ain't about to quit. I want to hustle, I want to grow, I want to be entrepreneurial. So it's not the passive income. That represents about 20% of your income from property, just so you know. Around 80%, let me know if you can guess in the comments, capital growth or capital appreciation. Basically, inflation on property, supply versus demand, the prices go up, you make your money from that. That's where leverage comes into play. Because if you've got a £100,000 house, but you've only put 25 grand into it as a 25% deposit, which is very typical on a buy-to-let mortgage, by the way. You put 25% in, and let's say there's 5% capital growth, that's £5,000. You might think I've made 5%, but no, you've actually made a 20% return. Now, forget the fees and things like that, because that's not what we're going through right now. £5,000 on the 25,000 is a 20% return on your money. tax-free. And that's how you make your money through buying with a mortgage. In the long term, this is not financial advice, just my opinion, every single property should end up on a mortgage. And by the way, it might not always be that way. I, for example, have probably about £2 to £2.5 million in property that is all cash, which is not good for the long term. So when would you buy with cash? Well, buying with cash is all going to be about the opportunity. So first of all, really there's only two situations. That is when speed is needed and a mortgage can't be had. And they can be the same property or two separate things. So let me give you an example. So I've taken on, well, they think £1 million portfolio, I think a £900,000 portfolio, but I managed to get it at that discount, and I got it a bit discounted on that, because of the speed and certainty. So I end up buying it with cash, and I know most watching aren't going to have hundreds of thousands in their bank ready to go. But you can actually take advantage of these deals by moving with speed. So I actually completed on those in 3 weeks, which is relatively quickly for a cash purchase. You can do it quicker. But it was because of that speed and certainty that I could give the vendor that I was able to acquire that portfolio. And then what I'll do is, now that I own them, it's called refinancing. So I'll get a mortgage to finance out my money, and then I'll go again and again and again and again, building the empire as we move forward. Number two is when there's a problem with the property. So let's say I've got a property that's 200,000, but I can buy it for 170,000. Is it a good deal? Is it not a good deal? Who knows? But the reason why I would buy with cash is because, let's say it's not got a kitchen, it's not got running water, so it's not deemed as habitable. And if it's not habitable, one of those words, let me know how you pronounce it, then you're not going to be able to get debt on it. You're not going to be able to raise finance against that. So you're going to need cash or bridging, which I'll go on to in a moment. So ultimately, you can buy with cash, but my long-term recommendation, not financial advice because I'm not qualified in any way, is as quickly as possible, you want to be releasing that money with a mortgage, unless you have abundance of cash, or indeed maybe your religion prohibits you from taking on debt. What about bridging? Bridging is, as it says on the tin, it's to bridge the gap. Bridging is not a long-term solution at all. So if you think about a bridge, it is to get you from one place to another. Hey, let's call it bridging. There you go, that's what bridging is. It's a short-term mechanism to help you acquire, increase the value of, and then finance out of an asset. So in property, what the fuck does that mean? Let's say I've got that shit property that's beaten up and it's not got running water. You can't live there, as I said, and I can't pronounce the word habitable, apparently. So what happens is you can buy that with bridging. Think of it as a debt mechanism, but they consider it a bit higher risk and it's faster cash, so you are going to pay higher rates. I would not recommend this on your first purchase. Everyone in the world with their first purchase should be getting a boring, vanilla, buy-to-let property, ideally with a mortgage, if not cash. But if you're feeling a bit more experienced, you want to go a bit faster, you can get bridging, and I'd only use bridging if I didn't have enough cash. Now, do I recommend bridging to many people? No, I would only ever recommend it if it was a bridge to let product. What does that mean? I am purchasing it with bridging. I am then going to refurbish the property and then refinance as soon as possible. So it's that short-term mechanism getting onto a long-term mortgage. Now, in general, all of these finance routes, let's take cash out of it. Let's say you're assuming leverage, which I think most smart investors are doing. If you are assuming leverage, it doesn't quite work the same as your residential mortgage. So your residential mortgage is based on your affordability, right? But say, for example, I'm earning 50 grand salary, then I might be able to borrow 250,000 from Virgin Money or something like that to have 250 grand towards buying my house. However, in property, it doesn't really work on affordability. Now, on your first one or two, it might matter a bit more, but that affordability for almost all lenders is a £25,000 salary. Ideally, you're going to own your personal home, but it's not an absolute must. As long as you've got 25 grand, you've got some history of borrowing money, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be able to get a mortgage of some kind. But think about this logically. Most people do not have a £1 million salary. So even for me, as an example, I pay myself 50,000 as a salary from my business. So it's a good salary, but that doesn't make sense to be able to leverage the amount I have. I probably have, and I need to double check this, so don't quote me on this, I probably have about £10 million worth of debt. Right? Now you might think, oh my God, that's terrible. No, debt is good if you know how to use it properly. So how could I possibly get that much debt with a 50 grand salary? The reason why is because with investment debt, they base it on the asset. So if I need to go, let's say now I'll go buy a £2 million block, which is basically a big, boring vanilla buy-to-let property just in one big unit with lots of boring vanilla buy-to-let properties. How am I going to get the debt needed for that, which would be 1.5 million on 50 grand? That doesn't add up, does it? Imagine you're in 50 grand and you live in a £2 million house. Ain't gonna happen. So what they do is they look at something called rental coverage. This is making sure that the rents over the year cover the mortgage over the year plus a certain percentage. The easy way of thinking about it is work out your year's worth of mortgages and times that by 1.3. And as long as the loan debt is covered by 130%, 1.3, 9 times out of 10, you are going to be good, dependent on your credit file and everything else. That's just the basics of it, all right? We can go in way more depth, and if you want me to go and put more depth, put finance in the comment and I'll do some videos where I can get fucking geeky and really go into it for you. But ultimately, you want to make sure you're subscribed. Make sure to hit that notification bell. I want to make sure I'm adding as much value as possible. But if you've been watching this and you're like, damn, I really want to build this portfolio. I really want to go all in, but you don't want to mess up your first one, your second one, but you don't have the time, the knowledge, the inclination to make this work. Put APG, that stands for Aspire Property Group, in the comments right now. We are opening up a handful of spots where we build your portfolio for you. So if you've got money to invest, you've got that 50K or more to invest, but you want us to do it for you, that's what we do at Aspire Property Group. Put APG in the comments. You'll have a one-to-one strategy session with one of my team and we'll help you build your portfolio in 2024.